A quick note about her, she may or may not say it, is that she also used to lead women in leadership when she first joined the organization a few years back. And so she has an affinity to this program as the others, but she knows what it means to be in the room, in the space with women. So I've always invited her to come in and kick us off. So Yami, I'm going to turn it over to you to say hello and greet us in the way that is unique to you.
Aw, thank you so much, Shayla, Kate. You know, it's always a joy when you invite me to come either in your classes or to meet you in the virtual conference space. I have to say, I'm so excited with the number of women that are joining our virtual space today to learn more about our programs. As Shayla shared with you, I lead Focus. The sun is shining. Kate is actually here in the office. A number of our team members are also here, and Shayla is rocking it in our satellite office as well. And what can I tell you about this program? It is nothing short of amazing. So we had our graduation recently, and to see the women of Will represented, I'm like, you know, whatever they're drinking, which they weren't drinking anything, I wanted part of that Kool-Aid, because it was effervescent, it was transformative in how they were talking about their experiences in a way that it doesn't surprise me the number of people that we have today. And Shayla, I'm just going to put it out there. I want to say that this is going to be a record year for women in leadership in terms of their engagement. But I'm glad you're here. We're the organization that educates women and, you know, all folks really, in terms of the challenging issues of our region, but more importantly, we give them the leadership toolkit that allows them to lead, not just on a personal, professional level, but on a community level. I was in a meeting earlier on this morning, and to see the number of Focus alums that were at the table, what can I say? It was nothing short of amazing. And you are in great hands. Whether you decide to do the program today or not, don't worry about it. The way I like to say things is my Rolodex is your Rolodex. As you explore what's next in career and community, come back to us, come back to Shayla, come back to Kate in terms of what the possibilities are. So excited to join the incredible women of our region here who are here today to learn about our programs. Shayla, does that capture it, or is there anything else I can share?
I was on mute. Yes, it captures. It's that funny thing. Remember, unmute yourself, right? And that's what we do in Women in Leadership. If you want to use that metaphor, we literally help women unmute themselves. What does that mean? It is an opportunity to build clarity around your career and your community involvement. It's an opportunity to clarify your voice and amplify it around the things that are important to you. It means that you're unmuted when you come into the space that we create in our program that is not only safe, but it's brave. And there is a difference. Safe space means like I might still hide out in the corner and, you know, maybe not say what's on my mind, but brave space says we expect you to say what's on your mind and we expect you to contribute to the conversation in a courageous manner. So welcome again to our info session. Again, for those that have joined just now, I'm Shayla Ford. I serve as the director of the program, and I am a graduate of Class 52, which I'm very proud of. And today we're going to just get in quickly to a couple of the logistics about the program. Who is the ideal candidate? How long have we been doing this? What can you expect? And then I've invited 4 very special guests this afternoon who will share part of their experience with you. I'll prompt them with a couple of questions and then they're going to answer, and then we'll open it up to Q&A to the audience. You can either unmute yourself or drop your question in the chat, and myself and or our panelists will be able to respond to you. So I'm going to get ready to share my screen and walk you through a couple of slides. It's not going to be slide heavy. It's just going to be something that we can use to help us make sure that you get the info that you need. If at any point you have a question, drop it in the chat. Kate will help me to monitor that. Before we get into any of the particulars about the program, our women in the program know, and others do, our other guests know, we start out our program every time with this mantra entitled, "It's my time." It's something that my mentor shared with me, and I brought it to focus into our women in leadership because I think it's important to center you in this moment, for you to be very present to not only learning about this program, but if you decide to apply and you're accepted into the program, to understand that this is your time. So what I want you to do before I get into the agenda is just quickly take which number means the most to you right now that you're like, ooh, that hits me, that's me. You know, maybe number 3, embracing new possibilities. This is a new possibility. Drop it in the chat. I just want to see which number is resonating with you right now. And if it's more than 1, then drop, if it's 1 and 3 or 5 and 6, whatever. Just want to see where you are today when you think about it being your time and you taking time to focus on you and to just put yourself in the center of an opportunity like this. Okay, Kate, let me know what you're seeing. What is resonating with the group? Are you seeing, what number is seeming to stand out?
I'm seeing lots of odd numbers. I'm seeing 3s and 5s and some 6s. I like the combo people, the people that can't decide and are just feeling it all. Okay,
good. Awesome. Well, thank you for, entertaining me with that opportunity to just hear, where are you at? So our agenda for the day quickly is we want to know, what is women in leadership? Who are the ideal candidates? We're going to hear from our participants, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A and then respond with next steps. Again, at any point, you can ask questions. Drop it in the chat. Kate is monitoring that to make sure that I don't miss you. And we welcome questions. This is your opportunity to learn more and ask the things that you need to know that will help you make a decision or help you to talk to others that are going to sponsor this opportunity for you. So Women in Leadership was founded in 1981. We have a cross sector of intergenerational women that are early mid-career to C-suite and beyond. I'll tell you, our last class, Will 77, I think I had the age range from 30 to 60, right? And so what does that mean? It means that all of you who are interested in this are at different ages and stages in your career and in life, but the one thing that you have in common is that you're interested in your growth and development. And so that's the woman who this is exactly created and designed for. This program helps you develop a further understanding of our region, like the good things that are in it, the opportunities that it provides. It is immersive experiential training. So this is not like anything that you've ever experienced before. How do I know? I'm intentional about designing it that way, and you're going to hear from women who have gone through it and experienced it themselves. But this is a unique opportunity, and this does not look like maybe any other leadership experience you've ever had. Our program is 3 months. It's 4 seminar days, which are on Saturdays, and it's 3 field days, which are on Thursdays. And the distinction is the field days are our opportunity to create classroom in community. So we're hosted by various organizations that support what we're doing and allow us to bring different civic issues and leaders, female leaders in particular, in those organizations for you to learn from them and glean from them. And then our Saturdays, I say they're more self-focused. Who is the leader within that we need to cultivate and build her confidence, build her voice, build her clarity around where she wants to go? That's kind of the focus. So if you're kind of wondering, what's the difference? That's kind of the difference in a nutshell. Who should apply to this program? All of you. I say that because I love to help women succeed. And so I think all women in whatever place or stage they are in life just need someone to walk alongside with them to help them get to where they want to go. How do you know that? Then we'll refine it. It's women who are at a range of roles in their company or in community. We're creating this program specifically for you to get an deeper understanding of who you are and yourself. And then if you're looking for an opportunity to build and or refine your leadership skills personally, professionally, or in the civic realm, that's part of our objective as well. And then if you're looking to really give back to this region and to help this region thrive, then this is an opportunity for you to meet other women from diverse experiences and backgrounds and sectors to really come together to do that. So I think that you, and you are absolutely the perfect and ideal candidate for this opportunity if it's aligned with your goals and if it's aligned with the season in life where you have the time to commit to yourself. I don't want you to be present, you know, at the bottom we talk about attending all sessions. I don't want you to just be present to check a box. I want you to be present to the experience and to those that are in the room. And so that means that you have to set time aside to fully be immersed in what we're doing and what we're learning together. So that's that part. Here's a quick look at the schedule. It's also posted on our website. We post this in advance because we want you to know the commitment. So not only is it these days, but they're full days. So 9 to 4 is our time frame. So it's a full day that we're asking you to commit. And so we want you to check your schedules to make sure that there's not any conflicts or any other priorities or projects that would conflict with this. And if so, we offer a session in the spring. So we're always looking for opportunities to share so that you can make an informed decision if this is the right place and time for you to be involved in women in leadership. So that's there. The benefits. I know I'm talking really fast because I want to introduce you to our special guests. So I'm queuing them up so they know they're getting ready to come on next. Is again, deeper understanding of the region. Why is that so important and why does that look different than maybe other leadership programs? Because Focus St. Louis is about civic education and leadership to help our region thrive. And we do that by equipping leaders at all levels to understand who they are, build their leadership toolkit, and then activate them to get involved or to deepen their involvement in helping our community to be the best that it can absolutely be. So that's paramount in our program and why it looks a little different than maybe some other leadership programs that you've been in or that you've heard about. We also give you exposure to the civic, business, and community leaders in our region who are making the decisions and making things happen so that you can hear from them about their organizations or about their work. And then sometimes how you can be involved in the work that they're doing through service or other ways. If you're looking to improve or enhance your skills, collaboration is key, communication, facilitation, negotiating, who wants to make what they're worth, right? We teach you those skills so that you can go in and have a confident conversation, either with a hiring manager or maybe with your current, boss or supervisor because you're looking for a promotion. We also help you to hone in on your strategic or critical thinking skills as well as build your self-awareness. So we do a lot of reflective work, and that again is important for you to further develop and cultivate the leader within so that you can bring that leadership and who you are as a leader to community. Lastly, well, not lastly, but second to last, the other piece is not only do we offer a cohort model that's usually between 25 to 30 women, but we have, a network that Focus has built over time of 10,000 alumni. So imagine you're part of a network that is big and grand, and Focus trained leaders love to support other leaders in the program. So it's an opportunity for you to connect with that cohort that you're going through the program with, but it's also an opportunity to connect to our broader network. And you'll see Focus leaders all over our community. As if you decide to apply and you're accepted, as you begin to be out in community and talking with people, you'll say, oh, did you know so-and-so, or I did Focus. And then it's like instant connection. No need to say anymore. They're like, oh, you're a friend. Pull up a chair, sit at the table. Let's have coffee. Very generous. Our alumni are very generous with their time, with their resources, with their perspectives, because they understand what it means to go through our program. They understand the objective is to activate you as a catalyst for change in our community. So that's the benefits of the program. I know I've talked fast. Is there any questions in the chat that I might address that I need to address before we introduce our special guest? Kate, do you see anything that I may have missed? Okay, Wonderful. So I did all that speed talking. I promise I don't always talk that fast. I did all that speed talking because I wanted to get us to this point. And we have some recent Will alumna joining us today. We have Linda, we have Susan, we have Latifa, and we have Stephanie. Each of them have gone through the program this past year, and each of them come from different sectors, different lived experiences. They each glean something different from Focus's Women in Leadership program. So I've invited them today for them to share more about their experience. So Kate, if you can bring them up to the Zoom stage so that we can see them, so maybe spotlight them, and then I'll moderate a couple of questions for you. And we just, again, want you to answer from your heart. Honestly, you know me, y'all. I want you to be as authentic as you feel comfortable being, the good, the bad, and if there's ugly, then share that too, because I think it's important for women to understand that you can be who you are and you can speak your truth. And they need to understand that that's baked into what we do in this program. So why don't you each say hello? And when you do your introduction, just tell us quickly, why did you even apply to this program? What were you hoping to get in that initial, like, oh, I should do this program? And then we'll talk about what you actually got. But what brought you here? So Linda, I'll start with you, and then I'll kind of have this popcorn go around.
Hello, I'm Linda Anderson. Why did I apply to Will? I was going through a career change. And so I was feeling the imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Will they see me here? Will they value, my thoughts? What would the makeup be like? So I did a little research, and I kept saying, like, this Will, Women in Leadership. It's like I've never been part of a woman's type of group. I was wondering, probably like you are now, what is this about? Would this be for me? So I applied because I am a lifelong learner. I did want professional development. I did want that guidance, but I also wanted that support as far as being in a new role and what questions I should have and what resources to make sure that I'm being effective.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's shoot down to Susan. Susan, what was the impetus for you applying to this program?
Thanks, Shayla. So for me, I have been part of other women leadership programs and loved it, but I did it with people in my industry, and it was out of town. So I really was looking for a St. Louis-based leadership organization that I could look for guidance, really helping me with my leadership skills, enhancing them, but also how could I get more involved in our community and finding a way to get more involved from our civic standpoint. So I really wanted to learn more. So I was very excited about that, as well as learning more about finding out on the public sector, what was going on in our community. So for me, that was big drivers for why I was interested in being part of WIL this year.
Thank you, Susan. Let's go up to Latifa.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Latifa. So what was my driving catalyst for WIL? I think it was multi-pronged. One, I am a transplant to this area. So I'm originally from the Bay Area. I came right around when the pandemic started, and so everything closed down. So the civic engagement piece was like a huge thing for me. I'm a really big community activist. I had a really difficult time trying to be like, who are the people? Where do I get in? How do I even just volunteer, honestly? And so that was one of the reasons. The other one is I struggled for a while to get from one level to the next. And I just was like, is it me? Am I missing something? How do I transition from the current level I'm at to get to the next level? I've been there for about 15 years. And so I was like, okay, this could help with a lot of things I'm currently experiencing, which is what drove me to apply.
Thank you. Stephanie, why don't you tell us, why did you apply to the program?
So thank you. I applied to the program because I was actually looking to definitely get more community engagement. So I felt like, where I'm at from a leadership standpoint, okay, I've been doing that. I think I've got it there and personally got it there too. But the community aspect was really missing. I am actually, recently came back to working at the Federal Reserve Bank in St. Louis, and for a number of years was a Richmond employee, so was remote. I don't live in St. Louis, I live in Jefferson County. So was really looking to be connected with other women in the St. Louis area because of my employment at the Federal Reserve Bank in St. Louis, and looking at programs and talking to others in my own organization. Will Focus St. Louis kept coming up. So that's why I applied, so I can be able to connect meaning, the meaningful purpose I see in my life as a leader personally, and as now finally within the community.
Awesome, awesome. Stephanie, I'm going to stay with you. What surprised you most about the experience? So we know why you applied to it, but then what, after you got in and you've experienced it, now you're a graduate, you're a part of our alumna, what surprised you most?
I think I know what surprised me the most. I mean, when we talk about leadership programs and women in leadership, really, I've been in other leadership programs, really did not expect the amount of community engagement and the amount where it impacts you personally. So like, you're coming to this leadership program, but you do get to dive into you personally and the things that are kind of getting in your way. And let's be fair, ladies, and honest, most of the time the thing that gets in our way is ourselves, that imposter syndrome. So it was really surprising, and also why I valued the time is actually getting an opportunity. Where can you go to get leadership and develop your leadership skills, because there is the leadership, but also work on yourself personally while getting connected to others in the community. It's like you bring all those three things together to make the whole person.
Yes, yes. Linda, I'm going to come to you. What was surprising to you about this program and this experience now that you can look back?
What was honestly surprising to me was the sisterhood aspect. I've been in education and working in this field, and I'm born and raised in St. Louis, but been in education as a career for about 15 years now. So I felt I was very familiar with the community in different organizations. However, when going to visit the sites and with the members in our own cohort, Will Cohort 76, I learned a lot in regards to what these different organizations offered, what they were doing in the community, the impact they were making in the community. But it brings me back again to the sisterhood. For me, that was a relevant piece because of that trust factor. And I can pick up a phone and call, a Will member from SIUE, or a Will member from UMSL, or a Will member from Federal Bank Reserves to make that connection to the community. So with my personal goals, as far as how I wanted to support the community, I had a sisterhood now that was willing to join me in those efforts. So that's what surprised me, is what I thought I knew, I really didn't know. So I was vulnerable and open to learning more. And now I have a whole tool bag, as you guys call it. I have a whole leadership toolkit of resources, plus that sisterhood that will help align with my personal mission and serving the community.
Thank you, Linda. Susan, gonna go to you.
All right. So I'm a little bit similar to what Stephanie said and what Linda said. My biggest surprise was the relationships. I have a lot of great relationships with coworkers, and I've gone to classes, but I haven't really found that bond, and to really know in my own cohort how well I got to know each and every single woman and feel like they're trusted partners, and having the ability to talk about anything And again, it's very personal. We're growing ourselves and investing in ourselves. And those could be hard conversations. So it was really having the freedom to have those relationships. And it wasn't just in the cohort, it's also every single person I met that came to speak to us. I felt like they were a trusted partner that wanted to be there, that wanted to invest in us, wanted to help us and help us grow and develop for ourselves and in our community, or whatever our focus and passion was. And that point that you said, Linda, I feel like I could contact anybody. And even the people that came and were guests for us threw out their contact information. Please, please call me. I want to help you. That for me was huge, and I didn't expect that. So I, again, just wanted to reiterate that it truly is a great resource and community, and felt loved and appreciated. And it's not just in that 3-month window. I feel like that's going to always be the case, which is exciting.
Thank you. Latifa, what surprised you?
I agree. It was definitely the relationships and relationship building. And I think for me, it was both the internal and the external piece. So I was able to also connect with a number of the presenters that came in and maintain like ongoing relationships and support from them and with them, even to the point of like having lunch and meeting husbands. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. I love that part of it. The other part that really surprised me was how much it was focused on me. So now let's be honest, we've all taken a number of leadership classes. I feel like the majority of the leadership classes I've taken before all focused on like leadership styles, management styles, and different like training you like, here's how you be a leader or a manager. Whereas this one was more, like the lady said before me, all about me. What is my leadership style? What is getting in my way? What's holding me back? Let's be honest, most of it was myself. And that was very refreshing to be able to really look and dive deep into me, and to be able to share that experience with others and identify too, like, oh, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone in this thing that I do or this way that I feel. Oh, wait a minute, that's happening over there too. Okay, so it took away a lot of like isolation. Sometimes we're hesitant to share those things with other people because we're like, I don't want to be judged for it. There was no judgment. It was a lot of authenticity. We were able to just show up, be ourselves, and speak from our hearts about what it really was. And it wasn't just speaking about it, we got like feedback and solutions, and it was asked. It wasn't just like, oh, here's what you should do. It's like, hey, can I offer some feedback? I actually have encountered something like that, and here's what I did, or brainstorming together. So I think the whole setup of the program honestly was not what I expected when I walked out in the door.
Awesome. I'm going to stick with you, Latifa.
Okay.
And here's my last question before, well, maybe, let me see what time. I want to be mindful of time. So I have 2 more questions, and maybe you can answer it kind of in one. And so this is for everyone. But thinking about your biggest takeaway, and or what would be your advice to all these women who have taken time out of their day to learn more about this opportunity, like what would you say to them? So like, what was your biggest takeaway, and what would you share back to them to say, like, this is something to really seriously consider? How would you share that with them? So Latifa, I'll start with you. Uh-oh, maybe I won't start with Latifa. It looks like we lost her. So when she comes back, she'll be right back. Why don't I go to Stephanie?
That's awesome. So the biggest takeaway is the realization of how many people and leaders are in St. Louis that are striving to make the community better. To be able to connect, I mean, with the number of people who came in to present, their impact to the community is just breathtaking. And but prior to coming to Focus St. Louis, no idea that much work was going on. So now I have those number of connections that I can now leverage, so I can start doing that area that was important to me, getting more engaged in the community. And, Will 77, that sisterhood, we have a, we have a group chat that we are, just recently graduated, but I think someone talks daily, and we help each other out daily. So it was, it's really rewarding to be connected with other women who are seeking their own success, but also seeking to help others to be successful. So one piece of advice: don't skip the pre-work. Um, there is always pre-work before you enter those sessions, but doing that pre-work, remember, you're coming to focus time on yourself, and this is a program where you actually get to dive into yourself and get into those areas with support that maybe you've been steering away from. The one thing that I am a continuous learner, but after one of the sessions, and I don't remember who actually said it right off the top of my head, but I was always that person who, like, well, I gotta go do that next thing. Maybe I need to go get another degree, not a degree, another degree. And literally, she's like, you have the skills. Why are you seeking another degree? And that's like I think half of our battle with women is we think we have to keep doing more, when you're going to find out, especially through this program, you already have it all. Now it's just how to put it all together so you can showcase all that you have. One last takeaway: if you don't think you're a crier, I'm going to say that may not be true, and there's plenty of tissues, because I did not expect that from me. And I know I have my other sister here, Susan, on this call, and I think we were both probably deemed the biggest criers in the room. But it was very healing, and there's never been a leadership program that I attended that got that in touch with who you are as a person.
Thank you, Stephanie. I think it was Dr. Jeanette Ruffin-Caesar, who said, you don't have to get more certificates or more degrees. You are enough right now. And we all need to hear that. So thank you for bringing that out. Latifa, we lost you for a second, but now you're back. I love that we can bring you right back and you didn't miss a beat. We want to hear from you. What was your biggest takeaway, and what would be your advice to the women who are joining us today? And ladies in the audience, get ready with your questions, because soon we're going to shift to you and open it up for you to ask your honest questions of us so that we can respond and make sure that we address whatever your concerns are. Latifa.
I mean, I'm just going to march on from what you said. You don't need another degree. You don't need another certificate. You are enough as you are today. My biggest takeaway was probably building my confidence back up. I didn't even know that I had lost it. I thought that I had it, and that I don't know, my confidence wasn't there. Going through the Women in Leadership helped me to find myself in that way again. So if you're here and you're like, what will I gain from this? And you probably already have some questions. You're in the right place, and this is the place for you. Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway. Just bringing me back to who I am and gaining that confidence back, taking the next steps and not being afraid. We always talk about fear being the biggest, hold up and setback for where we're trying to go. I was able to look beyond that and to move forward with next steps, some really big next steps in my life. I have to say, all of the little fancy titles y'all see under my name now happened after going through the Women in Leadership training. So just do it. It's for you. It's an investment in you. It is definitely your time.
Thank you, Latifa. Susan, let's hear from you.
So my biggest takeaway, for one, I absolutely love St. Louis, and I'm so proud to be from St. Louis. And finding people in the program that really helped introduce us to others was really big for me, and to learn more about them, to see where can I give back and do more. Again, we went to What's Right with the Region, and I was like, what is this? But attended it thinking, okay, I'll learn and see. And I was awestruck with how many amazing organizations are in St. Louis and helping our community. And it was like, wow, I want to do more. I want to help. Where can I give back? So having that exposure was great. But looking at me, for me, one of the biggest takeaways is making sure that you're focused on what really motivates you. You know, kind of stepping back at the very beginning and say, what is my why? And what do I want to do for my career and myself to be the best version and be my true authentic self? So for me, those were key good takeaways. And then from an advice perspective, make sure you're present. I know Stephanie mentioned do the homework, be prepared, but this is a gift. This is time for you to invest. And we have kids, we have spouses, we have lives, but this is a great opportunity to take 2 days a month and even beforehand to really invest in yourself. And that was something that I was first thinking, I'm being selfish. I should, not worry. And it's like, no, this is for me. So if you do choose to apply and be part of this program, savor every minute of it and make sure that you take that time for yourself because you are an investment.
Thank you. Awesome. Linda, what was your takeaway and what would be your advice to these individuals who are considering this program?
Well, my advice for individuals that's considering this program would be apply. First, apply. Just try, don't hold back. Don't question yourself. Apply. And if you're not accepted for this go round, apply again. If you are accepted, to be vulnerable to the process, allow your walls to come down. Because this is a space where you can be vulnerable. And that is the only way I feel that the resources that are provided and you are able to become your best self and you're able to see the impact that you have and you're able to see the change. And I have my our CEO all the time tell me that she can see women in leadership in me every day as I reach out. So there will be a change. There will definitely be a change if you are vulnerable and you are open to the process. That's my advice. My biggest takeaway, it's hard to narrow it down because I had so many. So one of my biggest takeaways is, Latifa touched on it, is to walk afraid. We had a moment, it was a space where there's a survey that you pretty much take up. And it determined, it kind of calculated your like leadership skills and abilities and all those things. But it also provided like things you could do to improve areas that needed improvement. Well, everybody was, excited, about, this process and all that. At the end, we all gave our songs of how we were feeling. Everyone's song was upbeat. My song was the Miley Cyrus, Here's the Climb. And that's where I broke down. Kate is not here. They remember. I couldn't hold it. That's where I broke down because that was my biggest takeaway is realizing all this time, my voice, I'm wondering why my voice isn't heard. And it was due to me. It was because I was afraid to do the work. I was afraid of the climb. I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid of what people would say. I was afraid of if I'm on this platform, how am I going to hold it? Am I worthy? So with that realization, knowing that I will be afraid, but it's okay. But I need to continue in this journey to have that impact. That was my biggest takeaway. And I'll leave with this. We just had a symposium today with our network, and our guest speaker walked over to me and shook my hand and told me that they saw my LinkedIn and I was building a brand, and it was very good. And he's taking notes. That was from one of the resources, one of our speakers, as far as with this program, Women in Leadership. So the things that you learn, if you are vulnerable and open to the process, you will see a change. But I encourage you to apply, and I encourage you to apply again, and I encourage you to be vulnerable to the process.
Absolutely. Thank you, Linda. And thank you all for sharing. Like, it's given me chill bumps. I know, because I've heard from you and I've heard from others, but I am glad that you were willing to share this afternoon with the women who are just like, I'm interested, I want to know more, your part of your story and part of your experience. So thank you for that. So I'm going to open it up now to Q&A. If anybody has questions, feel free to unmute, or if you're like, oh, I just want to, ask quietly in the chat, whatever makes you feel comfortable. This is the time now. If you're like, I've got a burning question, or I'm not sure, or how do you get your employer to support you, or like, how did you make room for this in your busy, chaotic schedule? Like, they're going to help you understand that. So ask away. What are the questions? Kate, are you seeing in the chat that I need to catch?
I've had two questions regarding scholarships. So would you like to address that?
Yes, I can. And then Brittany, I see your hand raised, so you're up next. So get ready to unmute. Scholarship. So we have limited scholarship available for women who demonstrate a need. And I'll tell you, the tuition is $2,000, but it's the best $2,000 that you'll ever use on yourself. And I will tell you that a majority of our participants are supported or sponsored through their employers. If that's not the case, you can apply for scholarship. You can have maybe a little from your employer, a little from us, and maybe a little from you, but we really don't want your finance to be a barrier. So if you're like, and we take scholarships after you're accepted, that's when that process starts. So it's not like, oh, I needed money and that's why they didn't choose me. We're removing that. Once you're accepted, then we initiate that process and ask you, do you need the financial support? And then we have a conversation with you and move forward in that vein. So I hope that answers the question, but I'll tell you this, ladies, don't let money be the reason that you don't do this. You are so worth it. And you've heard from these women. And if you heard from the full cohorts from this past year, I think all of them would tell you that it was well worth the investment time and time again. Right? So hope that answers the question. Was it Brittany? I don't see you anymore on the screen, so I don't know if she's still here or not, but if you are, there you go, Brittany Ross, in case I have more than one Brittany. Unmute yourself and let's hear your question, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. So my question was about the company buy-in. So not too long ago, Focus had the women breakfast, and I was able to get some people from work to come. I just wanted some advice on really selling the opportunity as a great investment, like to my employer, right? From the standpoint of my time, but also hopefully some financial, commitment as well. Maybe the individuals that have went through it or yourself, whoever, like, how do I, prove to them or, sell this experience, right, as something that is worthy for my person.
Who wants to tackle that from the panel? Anybody have some great advice to share? Susan, I'm going to pick on you. I also have something to offer, but I want to let you all speak to, like, how did you, position this opportunity from your company to support you?
Yes, and my company did pay for this. So for me, the past probably 2 or 3 years, I've had as part of my my professional development and objectives for my goals that I wanted to get involved in a leadership program that was St. Louis based. I've been very strategic about what I wanted. COVID happened and I didn't want to do anything virtually. So I've had it out there and I kept talking about it. But whenever I looked at it last year, I went through exactly what was involved, the summary about what Will is. And I went to my manager and I said, this is something I really believe in. I'm excited. I knew somebody that had gone through the program and that she was able to be more confident. And I walked my employer through that. And my boss said, you know what, this looks really interesting. Let me talk to our boss. So she went to our boss and he was like, yep, this is great. So I went ahead and went through the whole application process. So for me, it was being confident in myself and how it was going to help me, as well as our company. And again, tying it to the fact that this was something that was important to me, not just today, it wasn't out of the blue. It had been ongoing for my own interest in this particular opportunity.
Does anybody else from the panel have another way that you shared that information or were able to help you leverage this opportunity and get the support you needed?
I want to kind of just follow on what Susan was saying, is that I too framed it from the leadership perspective, and that it was an annual goal for me was to increase my understanding and learning and to take one leadership training. And so that was the way that I framed it and was able to use it. I also basically kind of just took from the website, just they send you what are the objectives and use that as well. So here there's the course discussion and outline, and kind of submitted that and what I wanted to get from it, what I thought I would gain from it, and how it would support not just me, but also the agency that I was with at the time.
Right.
Okay, good. The other thing is, Brittany, if you reach out and you're like, I want some additional talking points, I put together some talking points to help you leverage this opportunity and talk about not only the benefit to you as an individual, but again, the benefit to the organization. And I think that's the selling point, the connections you make, the new information that you bring, the skills that you bring back to your team that influence how you're able to be effectively, more effective as a leader. And then people, your leaders witnessing your growth. I haven't talked to anybody that's not said, other people notice that I'm different in a good way, right? And so that's important. So I'm happy, reach out to me, Kate, if you could drop my email in the chat box. I'm happy to provide that to you and anybody else that wants that, because sometimes you need those talking points to help.
Brittany,
Awesome.
was that helpful? Brittany Ross?
Hopefully.
I hope so. I lowered her hand.
Oh, yes, it was. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Go ahead.
fine. Sheila,
Good.
we have two questions. They're being asked in slightly different ways. So firstly, the question was about explaining field trips.
Okay.
It's field days. So if you could explain what that means and being in community.
Yes. So I love our field days. And for us, the field days are the Thursdays that we go out in community, and the community is our classroom. So we have a sector that we focus on. So for example, our public sector / government day in the past has been hosted by the Federal Reserve. And we've brought in speakers who are in the public sector space. So we've heard from the mayor. We've heard from the president of the Alderman Board this time around. We've heard from CEO of the library. We've heard from the CEO of the Regional Arts Commission. We've heard from, now she's retired, but at the time it was Lieutenant Colonel in the St. Louis Police Department. So we've heard from different individuals that hold positions in the sector so that we can learn from them. So that's kind of the framing of the field day. It's like we're in the field, specifically meeting individuals in a sector to talk about their work, the sector, what's happening. So if that helps you. But now what we're doing, even on Saturdays, we're going to different places in community. And that's another aspect of the program that's changed a little bit since I was in it. We used to just meet in one location one time, and being even further in community to meet different people, to experience different places that maybe we've never been, also adds to the learning and to the experience. Because sometimes your comfort zone is not just the information or the learning or the challenge of the self-awareness. It might be that I'm going to a part of town or an organization I've never heard of before, and that could be what makes you uncomfortable, but that you're open to that learning. So that was
or being hosted by Will
Yes.
alumni and getting
Yes.
that continued connection and testimonial. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes. And we've got a lot of Will alums who are stepping up to host us in the fall and spring. And that's super exciting, because then they get to share their organization and as well as share their experience with you. So adding to your connection and to your network through those field days. What was the other question, Kate? And then if someone else, oh, I see a hand raised. Why don't I go to Paula, and then you can tell me the question that you see. Paula, hello, unmute yourself. Tell us what your question is.
Hi, how are you?
I am well, glad to have you with us.
Absolutely. I said, oh my God, I'm late, but it's okay.
You are
So
here, your time right now.
So my question is, I honestly don't think that my organization is going to fund me, but I am the CEO and founder of my own nonprofit organization. Could the board refer me? Could the board recommend me?
Absolutely. I'll tell you this, so we have a nomination and a recommendation. Let me explain a little bit. The nomination is, you could self-nominate, you could have someone in your professional network nominate you. That's kind of to just get the process going, right? Someone might see the potential and go, oh, that person should be in this program, right? The real thing is your application and getting 2 recommendations, right?
Okay.
So you could have someone from your board, but you could nominate yourself. And you know what? Women, we tend not to even put ourselves out there and say, oh, I want to nominate myself, because we think that's bragging, or that's like, who does that? Let me say this, sis, if this is for you, then nominate yourself, okay? Or call me and say, Shayla, nominate me. I'll nominate you, right? If you're like, that feels weird, okay, then let me do it.
Okay, absolutely.
And I'll do it that I'm basing it off you're interested because you showed up today and you asked a question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so the nominations, is that an application as well?
It's a quick online thing, and I think Kate dropped the link to the nomination in there. And it's like, what's your name? Who's the person, their email, who's nominating them? And that's really it. We don't even really ask why. We let the why kind of come from the recommenders, right? So it's a part of the process, but it's not the most important part of the process.
Okay, so once I'm provided 2 recommendations, if I nominate myself and someone else from my professional network, and then what if I was able, and then the recommendation, so are there 2 separate applications is what I'm trying, I guess that's what I'm asking.
So the recommendations are the same form. The application is a different form, but that's what you fill out. This is you telling us more about yourself and your goals and why you want to be involved in the program. And so they are 2 separate things, and we have links for that. So you could say, oh, I want you to be my recommender, and then you send them that link, and then you take care of the thing that you're going to take care of. And you're going to hear from myself or Kate if you're like, I'm applying, but you said, oh, I told my recommenders, but we didn't get it yet, then we let you know so you can go back and say, hey, what's going on? Or you can ask someone else, right? So we do want the applications and the recommendations by the due date in July, but case by case, sometimes, your recommenders are traveling or on vacation. And if we need to like make some exceptions to give them a little bit more time, we work with you. We don't want you to have barriers to this opportunity. We try to help remove the barriers. Usually women will encounter a barrier and then they'll turn away and they'll walk away. And we're like, don't do that to yourself. This is about you. So whatever we can do to support, to help you be successful in this endeavor, we're going to do what we can do on our end.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so I did see in the chat the links. So I'm going to recommend myself, and then yes, and then I'm going to ask you. No.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Paula. Thank you. Hey, Kate, do you have any more questions, or are there any for the audience before we wrap up, excuse me, in the last 2 minutes, because I want to get you out of here in case you're like, my lunch hour is ending, I gotta go.
Yes, one more clarification about the nomination. Nomination is really to just get your name in my queue. Someone asked how long a recommendation is good for. If you tell me what, cohort you're looking at, if the dates work better, if you'd like to be prospective, that's how I categorize it. So it's not like you've termed out. It can always be your time, but it's when you need, when you have the time available and you can be fully present, that type of thing. So they don't really lapse. It's just staying current with me. So a nomination is definitely not necessary. Just do that application and 2 recommendations. It's helpful to have someone from your business, but it doesn't have to be as well. And then the application deadline is also listed in the calendar, but let me pull it up for you as well.
We're going to send out, there you go. July the 8th, I was wrong. Ooh, I got to fix that before we share the slide. July the 8th then is the due date, okay? And we run the program twice a year. So if fall is not the ideal time, then consider spring. right? Because sometimes it's just the dates and times of, like I said, what's happening in life, what's happening at work, where a better, fall might be better, or, spring might be better. Any last questions before we wrap up?
I got a quick question.
Yes, go
Is
ahead.
there a recommendation? Is there a link that we can send
Yes.
out? Okay.
Kate will drop that in the chat for you. In the interest of time, I'm going to wrap it up and close it out. But here's what I want you to know. If you're on the fence, I hope that you will take what these women shared with you to heart and decide that it is your time to invest in you and to really develop who you are as a leader. Develop your confidence, your clarity, and your voice around how you lead and how you want to show up in community. This is your time, and this is about you. If you have additional questions, you can reach out to myself or Kate. I think Kate's dropped my email in the chat. We will send this recording out to you. So maybe if you missed something, or you're like, oh, what were the due dates? We'll have to correct it on that slide. It's July the 8th, but you can have access. Reach out if you have questions. Okay, let us know how we can best support you in making an informed choice about your future and your investment in your growth and development. And with that, I'd love to just say thank you again for giving us your time. I know that it's precious, and so I want to honor that and say goodbye. Have a great June and a great summer, and hopefully I will see you in the fall in Women in Leadership.